Kenya's parliament has undergone significant transformation since independence in 1963. The institution is now over 50 years old. Following the promulgation of the new constitution in the year 2010, Parliament has, since the general elections in 2013, reverted to the bicameral system, whereby we now have the National Assembly and the Senate.
Majority that Honorable Amalwa, he brought this as this, and we will from time to time be dealing with these situations this way because this is an urgent matter.
The role of the National Assembly is to represent the people of the constituencies and special interest, enact legislation, determine allocation of revenue between the two levels of government, appropriate and exercise oversight over funds for national government and other state organs.
We perform our mandate under the Constitution, which is to exercise oversight over all state organs. If you look at Article 260, the judiciary, the national executive, legislature, parliament, and other independent commissions and independent offices, they are all described as state organs. The body that has been given specific mandate to oversight all state organs under Article 95 is the National Assembly.
Kenya first tested a bicameral system of government when the Senate was created in 1963 to work alongside the House of Representatives. However, this was short-lived as an amendment to the then Constitution in 1966 led to the amalgamation of the two houses. The outgoing members of the Senate were catered for in the National Assembly through an increase in constituencies. Today, the Senate has made a glad comeback courtesy of the new Constitution. Unlike in the past, the Senate now has the expanded role of representing the counties, protect their interests and those of their governments. It determines the allocation of revenue to the counties. The Senate also participates in the lawmaking function of Parliament by considering, debating, and approving bills concerning counties.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to submit.
First, we have achieved quite a lot in terms of setting up the structures and getting. We have made sure that the counties are up and running, county assemblies are performing. We have brought legislation. We had to review all the legislation that has been enacted in the 10th Parliament in order to harmonize it with the devolution. And our House has recorded the highest number of bills that are sponsored by private members, which is really that the senators themselves have to work through in order to achieve this.
The current constitution clearly separates the role of the three arms of government, namely the legislature, judiciary, and the executive. The legislature comprises the National Assembly and the Senate. The National Assembly is composed of 290 elected members, 12 nominated members in accordance with political party strength, and 47 women representatives drawn from each of the counties. The leader of the majority in the House comes from the largest party or a coalition of parties.
That means I have to go and deal with independent institutions.
The leader of majority is the link, apart from being the spokesperson of the coalition, he is a link between the membership, the rank and the file of the coalition members in Parliament or in the National Assembly, and the President, and the Deputy President, and the government. So sentiments of members are taken to the President through the leadership. He is a convener of the parliamentary group meetings chaired by the President and the Deputy President.
The main role of the majority and minority leaders in both houses of Parliament is to propagate the legislative agenda of their respective parties. The Senate consists of 47 elected members, 16 women-nominated members, 2 persons, male and female, representing the youth, and 2 others, also male and female, representing persons with disabilities.
Although I'm a member of the legislature, technically I represent the executive in the House. if there are any questions that are asked by individual senators about their counties, mainly those questions will go to chairmen or chairpersons of committees. But I am supposed to assist the chairpersons of the committees to get answers from the executive. So that is my key role, to ensure that the questions that are asked are answered, because ministers are no longer members of the legislature.
The minority leader is the leader of the second largest party or a coalition of parties in each of the two houses. His role is to mobilize members in his coalition to create checks and balances for the ruling coalition in and outside the House.
This committee, Mr. Speaker, has done a good job.
We've brought more bills and more private members' motion in the National Assembly. And most of the bills that CORD members bring are those that touch on common mwananchi. They are the ones dealing with the cost of living, lowering the goods, the VAT, removal of VAT. Most of the bills touch on common man, and most of them have come from CORD members. So we have performed quite well, though we are a minority in the National Assembly.
As outlined earlier, the Senate, like the National Assembly, has a majority and a minority leader.
Kenyans must know that we have a new constitution. The implementation of this new constitution is ongoing. The implementation of this constitution largely depends on how the two houses of parliament conduct their oversight role in the country, and how the new devolved units take root and work, and how the national government conducts its affairs.
While Parliament has scored highly in most of our undertakings, the situation has not been the same for women representation in the decades gone by. The exception, however, is the 11th Parliament, where every effort has been made to meet the gender threshold in line with the new constitutional requirements. Women representation in all decision-making organs is a fundamental issue in advancing gender equality.
In the chambers right now, women should know that they will see the benefit, because some of the bills that we try ourselves to pass and motions are more importantly supporting women. And that's why we've been able, even now using our own men who believe in women, to bring in the 30%, the tender procurement issue. We've been able now to raise and tell the president, look here, we need more funds to go, not just now for women. And that's why women within decision makings are much better, because you think beyond yourself. You think for others, you think for your children, and in the end you'll think for your community.
By allocating key positions to women legislators, there are many other roles in nation building, including motherhood, are now better addressed.
The Honorable Harrison Kombe, is it anything to do with the petition that has just been presented? We still have more reports, more papers to be laid.
In articulating the national agenda, Parliament works closely with other arms of government. Unlike in the past, Cabinet secretaries do not sit in the House, and matters concerning the executive are now handled by the parliamentary committees. Likewise, public and organizational matters are dealt with by the offices of the clerk to the National Assembly and the Senate, respectively. The clerks are appointed by the Parliamentary Service Commission.
In the aspect of legislation, we have done reasonably well, because we have passed more than 36 bills into law. We realized that the process of voting, which was queue voting, that is the yes would queue physically on this side, Mulolongo, and then the no's would queue this side to physically tick lists. So we thought the best way then is for us to go electronic. So that has improved efficiency, that has improved the amount of business we can transact in a sitting.
The Parliamentary Service Commission, PSC, was established by the Constitution with a view to enhancing service delivery in Parliament. The PAC consists of the National Assembly Service, Senate Service, the Parliamentary Joint Services, and the Centre for Parliamentary Studies and Training, CPST. The PSC is responsible for the efficient and effective functioning of Parliament, the appointment and supervision of office holders, and preparation of annual estimates of expenditure of the parliamentary service. The clerk to the Senate is the secretary to the Parliamentary Service Commission.
Tremendous progress has been achieved so far. When the new Senate began its sittings, it was sitting at the KICC in a makeshift chamber. But with time now, you know that a beautiful new chamber has recently begun to be used by the Senate, incidentally in the very place where the Senate disbanded, where the Senate was dissolved in 1966. So it is a homecoming of sorts, and the senators are very pleased with the new chamber. Additionally, a lot of work has gone into provision of offices for members of parliament. As we speak, every member now, every member of parliament at least has a place that they are able to work from.
In addition to its several other functions, the Parliamentary Service Commission runs an outreach program through which the public, schools and other institutions get to familiarize themselves with Parliament as the people's representative.
Feel welcome and also feel that you are here to learn. You know a lot about what happens in Parliament.
Article 127 of the Constitution establishes the Parliamentary Service Commission. And the Commission is responsible for providing services and facilities to ensure efficient and effective functioning of Parliament. It's also performing other functions necessary for the well-being of the members and staff of Parliament. We want to connect with the people of Kenya as Parliament is an institution of people's representative. So we have to connect with the people on the ground so that they know. We want to demystify the office of members of Parliament.
One of the highlights of the new constitution is the role that it has bestowed on Parliament in the budget-making process.
The government may raise money through taxation only with the approval of this House. That the government may spend money only.
The new dispensation has elevated the august House from a budget-approving legislature to a budget-making one. Parliament's Budget and Appropriations Committee now carries out the overwhelming task of giving strategic directions with regard to the allocation of government resources between the executive, judiciary, and Parliament.
My role is to guide and facilitate the work of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. It's the largest committee in Parliament. It has 51 members, and the other committees have about 28 members. You realize that in the new constitution, the executive is not in Parliament. The people who manage our resources are not in Parliament, whether at the county level or at the national level. And so the people who then must be involved in the budget-making process, and this is the philosophy in all democracies, must be the people who represent the voter.
The national and the county governments. It makes it possible for the national and county governments.
Being the house that is in charge of devolution, the Senate's Committee on Finance, Commerce and Economic Affairs oversees the allocation of funds to the counties and has an oversight role on the expenditure of devolved funds.
County allocation of revenue bill originates in the Senate and then is passed on to the National Assembly, and it deals with the horizontal allocation. In other words, the allocation between the counties, amongst the counties. So whatever has gone to the county government, then we share it out on the county governments. So in terms of allocation, yes, we deal with allocation of revenue to the counties.
The establishment of a bicameral legislature has fundamentally brought about a balance of power in governance and strengthened the representation of the Kenyan people. Given the emerging challenges in the national and county governments in their endeavour to successfully undertake the task of nation building, Parliament will no doubt be called upon to play a critical role in spearheading national unity.
Oh, the future is bright. If there's any one thing that we can say Kenyans realized in the current constitution, 2010, was the fact that Kenyans, 7 out of 10, voted for the constitution.
Still have faith in the institutions that you created, because we have the interests of this country at heart.